So some things that people might specialize in. So as I mentioned, I specialize in prenatal and postnatal, so anywhere around maternity. Prenatal is a nice time for people to start yoga. So there's usually two different populations that might come to a yoga class when they're pregnant. It's the people who already have a well-established yoga practice, and then they need to learn how to adapt and what is not so much what they can't do, but what is better for them to do to help in the pregnancy and in labor as well. So they'll come to the class with already a background, and then there are other people who have never done yoga, but their doctor had even recommended coming to yoga class because it's one of the things that you can start in pregnancy if you've not done it before. If you're not going to start spinning or doing some kind of really intense physical activity. If you're already doing it, fine. But if you're pregnant and you're just wanting to start to do something, yoga tends to be a nice, gentle, good way into it. With many benefits through pregnancy and like the discomforts that we can feel on many levels, even like anxiety and any of the emotional stuff. Yoga is very helpful. We talked about sleeping. It can help women who are having a hard time sleeping in pregnancy, which is just the reality of it. Many benefits, and two, through yoga, learning some ways to cope with labor as well. Then after that comes the postnatal yoga, which for me is a continuation. I see a lot of the same parents coming from first prenatal. They take a little break, they come back after 6 weeks. Postnatal yoga is amazing again for the emotional and the support of even just being incredibly fatigued, because you remember what it's like when you have new babies, nobody's sleeping. Also your posture when you're constantly feeding the baby, that kind of stuff. And two, with those two populations, like everyone, but specifically pregnant and new moms, the community, so the people that you share the space with who are also going through similar things to you. In my classes, and a lot of, maybe not everybody, but a lot of times when we're teaching pre and postnatal yoga, we have the opportunity to chat with the other women. So, I have a pain in this part of my body, or I have heartburn, or whatever thing is happening, you feel more normal because you're not the only one going through those things. Right. And then once baby's born, same thing, like, I haven't slept in,
Correct.
Who knows how many weeks or months. You're not the only one, or like, there's this happening with my baby, or what do I do about, introducing solids. For me, it's really creating a community for the people, for the women. And now that most of the stuff is happening online, it doesn't change that as much. It's nice when we're in person, but even still with technology like Zoom, we still see the people's faces, and it can be surprisingly personal.
You can interact actually.
You really can, you really can. It's worked out fine, so those are the things that I specialize in. Some people, I have friends who specialize in yoga for seniors, which is amazing and incredibly needed in many ways. Mm-hmm. Even if the seniors are or anybody who's in a position where they can't stand up and do yoga and bend over and all this stuff that we're used to seeing people bending their body in like pretzels, it's not necessary. There's still a lot of stuff that you can do, breathing and even just basic movements with the upper body. Or legs, or like you can even like take your hands and help your legs move if they don't move as well. So I have friends who specialize in that, and that's very needed. On the other extreme is kids. So to specialize in children's yoga, and I did, and I got burnt out pretty fast because I have my own kids. So I was basically in schools and daycares teaching yoga full time to children who, kids, they're not. Kids are kids, it's not like an adult class where everybody's quietly sitting and they're going to pay, it can be, I think it's a very, like anything that anybody teaches to children, it's a calling to be able to teach yoga to children, especially on a full-time basis. I did it, I loved it, but then I found like I was coming home and I had my own kids, or like my kids would be with me at the class, and like they're the ones who are not listening.
You won't see any difference at home and in school.
Yeah, exactly. But people have, it's a nice personality type that can, and I think whatever you're teaching, whether it's yoga or whatever population you're teaching to, if you're passionate about it, that's what works. If you don't like kids and you're trying to teach yoga to kids, it's not going to be good for anybody. If you want to yell at them to get back on the yoga mat, it's probably not a good idea.
That's true.
And I have friends who, I did the corporate yoga thing for a while and I really liked it, but some people are really called to help improve the workspaces and the morale of the people. And many office jobs are really tough on the body, on the mind. So rather than sitting in the desk the whole time, and how many people at the office maybe you sit there and you eat your lunch while you're working on the computer instead of getting up and moving. It's not the best for your body. So the businesses who have a teacher come in once or twice a week to teach at lunch or after work, it's really, really great.
So yoga is not just for a physical thing. It's a, mentally also you feel a lot of relax, I believe.
Yes, yeah, and I believe spiritually too. I don't think it's just the physical. For me, it can't just be the physical. It doesn't make any sense. You can go do Pilates or there's a lot of things you can do if you're just looking to physically move your body. But for me, yoga is to unite. It's not to just choose the one thing that you feel like working